All right, joining me now is the man behind the statement, the CEO and owner of the Miami Marlins, Mr. Derek Jeter, Hall of Fame baseball player too. I'll throw that in there. Derek, thanks for joining me, man. I want to go straight off the statement. That was pretty powerful stuff.
Well, I mean, look, it's how I feel. I mean, you get to a point and you say, when is it going to stop? I mean, how many more tragedies? George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's countless others that, people never even hear those stories, and something needs to change. And, it gets to a point where you say enough is enough. And but the one thing that I was optimistic about, for the first time, you're seeing people across all 50 states and roughly 20 other countries, people of all different races, different nationalities out there in agreement that now's the time and things need to change because it's been going on for too long.
Yeah, no, it was really impressive to see people across the globe. You're in a unique situation where you've been a former player, Hall of Fame player at that, but now you're an owner of a team. So how do you address your organization, not just the players on the field, but now you're in charge of everybody in the organization? How did you address your organization?
Well, I mean, you said it, when you're in the position that I'm now and leading the organization, and then on top of that, I mean, look, I've had a foundation for 20 plus years that promotes social change. And I wanted people to hear directly from me. That's the bottom line. I wanted to be very clear on where I stand. I want to be very clear on where the organization stands. And we're not going to sit idly by and allow racism to persist. I mean, that's the bottom line. So we sent out some surveys to our front office staff, and to our players, anonymous surveys, because we wanted them to be open, we wanted them to be honest, we wanted them to be clear, because there's a variety of emotions. We wanted to hear from them. Now's the time where people need to listen, they need to learn, they need to share, and you need to have some uncomfortable conversations, because that's the only way things are going to change. You have to have some uncomfortable conversations. Well,
in the face of most organizations are the players. So did you meet with them separately? Did you have a chance to have a conversation with them yet?
I did, H. And, I met with them a few weeks ago. We had a video conference just like this. And I let them know, I let them hear directly from me. And I let them know, look, H as well as anyone. So, sometimes when you're in an organization, you may be a little hesitant to speak up because you're going to be concerned with your job and whether or not you're going to get released by an organization. That is not the case here. We're going to support our players and we're going to be behind them. And I told them that I encourage them to speak up. Make sure you're very clear with where you stand, because the worst case scenario, you don't want to be in a situation where you have to apologize and say you didn't mean it that way. Be very clear with how you feel, and we're going to support you as an organization. And so I did that with the players. We're going to do that with the front office staff in the next couple of weeks.
I've known you for 20 plus years. We don't really dive into this question I'm gonna throw at you a little bit, but coming from a biracial background, your mom's white, your dad's black, I'm curious the conversations in the Jeter household with race relations when you were growing up and how different that might have been, or what were some of the conversations?
Yeah, I mean, look, H, growing up, when I grew up at the time, interracial marriage was not as common as it may be nowadays. So yeah, growing up, you always, every time you went somewhere with just one of your parents, people would look at you and they'd wonder if, who's this person you're with. And when you went out to eat or to a store with both parents, you really got some uncomfortable looks. But my parents were very direct with me, my sister as well. You got to make sure that you surround yourself with people of all nationalities, all colors. Don't let anyone talk down to you because of your race. Stick up for yourself. But it's those were the times, and unfortunately those are still the times, and that's why we talk about it. It's time for a change.
So my conversation when I'm speaking with young teams, colleges, or like you and I both did last year with the prospect development pipeline for Major League Baseball, my message has changed so much now where you have to talk to kids about when they're pulled over by police and how to the protocol, put your hands on the wheel, yes sir, no sir. When was that conversation in the Jeter household, or did you have that with your dad?
Oh yeah, we had conversations. We had conversations not growing up. You have to understand that you don't let anyone treat you poorly because of the color of your skin. But unfortunately, some people are going to look at you differently. So you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to be better, and you can't have any excuses. But look, I'm not the darkest brother in the world, H. But I've been pulled over driving down the street growing up. I've been accused of stealing things from stores. We're not here to go back and forth on whose stories are worse, but I mean that's just how it is, and that's how it's been. And unfortunately, you would have wished that things would have changed by now, but that's not the case. But that's why I'm hopeful with everything that I've been seeing over the last couple of weeks that now's the time.
Yeah, I've had a number of friends call me. I grew up in a white community in Oregon. I was like 4 black families in the town of 50,000. And a lot of my friends are like, I don't understand. They understand seeing somebody be murdered like we saw with George, but they don't understand the whole pulled over and all the different conversations. And I'm like,
but that's why you got to talk about it. You know what I mean? That's why you got to have those conversations, and they're uncomfortable. Look, they're uncomfortable, but you got to force it. That's the only way you're going to be able to change. And you have to be willing to listen, Ace, and that's the key, is you have to be willing to listen. Don't just hear people. Listen to what they're saying, and try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah, listening's tough. Like I was just getting ready to cut you off, so we got to listen to this. Draft day, the general managers came out with their Black Lives Matter. All the posters and the conversation behind it and the message behind it, very powerful, all 30 clubs. When did you first hear about it, and what are your thoughts of it?
It's a great initiative. Speaking with Mike Hill, who's our president of baseball operations, he made me aware of it and how that idea started from a small group of the GMs. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, look, we've very fortunate down here in Miami. We have a very diverse front office, and it's the most diverse front office in baseball, and probably in one of the most diverse in all the sports. But when you're talking about moving forward and where we can go from here, I want to get to a point where diversity is expected. And we're down here in a very diverse city of Miami, and it should be a reflection of the city and the culture and the people who are here, and that's how you get more insight and ideas and knowledge, and that's how you're going to make progress, is having people of different nationalities and getting their perspectives.
On draft day, one of the things I was saying was about that. You got to be in a position of change and power, and we haven't had people of color in those positions to really make that change. And like you said, you got one of the most diverse front office in the sport. Are you trying to branch other people off that they might get other opportunities, being a model? What's your thought behind all that?
Well, look, we want to have the best people working for our organization, but we also want to give people an opportunity. Like I said before, your organization should be a reflection of where you play. And on top of that, in order for you to not only just be a reflection of where you play, but you talk about Major League Baseball and the efforts that it's making. We talk about this all the time. The number of African American players, the number continues to dwindle every year in and year out. And you want to have these efforts to get more people playing. But hey, I mean, we need to make an effort to get more people in the front office, and more people, get an opportunity to move up the ladder in the front office. And it starts at the top. It's something that is important to me. It's important to our organization, and hopefully it becomes important for a lot of other organizations as well.
All right, bringing it home. We'll close it out with this. Obviously, being an owner in the game, you get to go to the owners' meetings and see different owners in the game. Will this change the conversation for next upcoming owners' meeting? Will you have a forum, or will you try to get a forum to sit and talk with people, or have you already been getting phone calls about change?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope it's something that is dealt with directly. I hope it's something that people can speak honestly about, and people can admit that we need to make some changes in the sport. in society, but especially in the sport, because this is an industry that needs to change, and you need to see more people of color, more diversity at the owners' meetings. You need to see it at the GM meetings. You need to see it everywhere throughout the game, on the field. You need to see it, and but you can't just talk about it. I mean, you have to take action. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, we got to all work on it. And these are all things, there's tough conversations and people don't want to hear it, don't want to believe it. But I do think there is a change. I feel different about that. Seeing the youngsters out protesting, hearing the conversations, to see 30 general managers with Black Lives Matter signs, I feel like things are changing. Do you feel like there's a change coming?
I do. I mean, look, this younger generation is pretty impressive. And like I mentioned, you have people of all colors out, protesting, and that's what gives you hope. You pray that things are going to change. But I'm hopeful this time, but only time will tell. I mean, it's more than just talk. You have to take action, and you can't just forget about it a month from now. This is something that's been going on long enough, and in order for things to change, you have to take action.
Derek, thanks for the time, man. This serious conversation. Normally, I'd be sitting there saying, are you ready for your speech in Cooperstown? That's how different the world is right now. So I'll hit you with that next year about this time.
I appreciate it, Ace. Good talk.